Hello, my name is ToastyTime, and welcome back to me subjecting myself to horrifying adult RPG Maker games in the search for plot, because that's what I play these games for. Today's torture device is Misha's Incident, which passed Steam's content moderation, so it's already less disturbing than the previous two games we've looked at. But let's give it a shot anyways, perhaps it's disturbing in some other way. Yeah, cut the suspense. This game is disturbing in that it is awful. It is disturbingly awful. Truly, this is one of the worst RPG Maker games I have ever played, and if I seem less sane than normal, just know there is no going back after this one. So what is Misha's Incident? Well, basically, this woman, yeah, we're actually playing a legit adult for once, is the average player of this game and just wants to sit in her goon cave all day. So she took out like 20 microloans and never paid them back, so now you've got to take control and pay them back for her, or suffer the goonerific consequences. Which, unfortunately for Misha, is what people buy this game for.
That's pretty much all of the comprehensible lore. See, this game was originally in Russian, and the translation is horrible. Although the game being Russian does lead to some epic funny moments. Like, for example, the first thing that Misha and her equally anime degenerate looking friend think of to try and earn money is to work at a steel factory. Yeah, if you wanted serious gooner lore, this is not the game for you.
After this, the game opens up, by which I mean it completely abandons you to roam the streets entirely confused and with zero direction. This means I end up walking into every single area and clicking on every single thing until something happens. Sometimes I get force-fed sausages, sometimes I get a kitty. It's a random grab bag. Back to the translation, 90% of this game feels like a schizoid fever dream. You can walk up to most random NPCs and just tell them a joke, which sometimes will become a 2-minute long incomprehensible rant, and other times will jump scare you with something really funny.
Poor thing, young and already schizophrenic.
If it feels weird that you can tell jokes to everyone, even though Misha is supposed to be antisocial, well, that's the sort of cognitive dissonance that permeates this entire game. Everything just feels like it's randomly happening. I don't even remember how I got to this area. I think I need to be here to progress the plot, but I got in a fight where I dealt 0 damage and died, and I could never figure out how to get back here. The game calls itself weird, and like, OMG, it's so quirky that there's this big eyeball next to my house. I wonder how it connects to the mechanic of being able to randomly kick children.
Let's slow down a sec and go through this the way I think it was intended.
Okay, so we need to make money. That means we need a job.
To my knowledge, I have found 2 consistent places of employment.
One is a little restaurant that has the only sort of fun gameplay segment. You work as a waitress and you take 3 tables' orders, and then you have to remember them when you're getting it and when you're delivering their food. Yeah. That's the most fun mechanic in this game. The second place to work is in the second sauna, where you deliver beers for some weird guys and can be optionally, for more cash. Before heading into this area, though, there is a ninja guy who gives you a weird beer and tells you to give it to the sauna guy. If you do that, you get inducted into his cult, which, by the way, is protected by a grape monster in the elevator for some reason. Here, they lead you to a poisoned apple and want you to feed it to this guy. Except now I get stuck again because his friend will attack you and you do 0 damage. So I bailed and tried to go do the cat quest, but for that I need to get back to this area, and like I said, I have no clue how I got there. So we're stuck, and I've now refunded the game. Are there redeeming qualities here? Anything at all? I don't know, it's on the tip of my tongue. I have absolutely 0 respect for the positive reviews here. All of these must be from pure concentrated gooners, because there is nothing of quality or substance in this game, besides the art, which is really nice. Even the way you walk around is awful, because the transition events are placed extremely weird, and the pixel movement means half the time you miss them and have to awkwardly move back. Plus, this. Also, there's an extreme lack of sound design which really pulls me out of the game, except in the adult scenes where the sounds keep playing long after the scenes happened, which is a perfect metaphor for how the trauma of this video series follows me every day.
Anyways, I'm sure the original Russian translation is much better, probably, but I actually do have to give props to the English version for one thing, which is that if we look at the parts that make sense, which are few, but if we look at those parts, we see that actually the writing does motivate the player to engage with the game's systems. I think this is easier to explain if I give an example from another game in this video series. So in Lona RPG, the developer wants players to engage with systems that are adjacent to combat, like stealth, or purchasing mercenaries to do the fighting for you, or, doing another kind of job. But if you choose to directly engage in combat, the developer wants it to be a harrowing and difficult experience, and so that's how they've programmed and set up the game. But these systems wouldn't make any sense at all if Lona was some like buff, burly, Giga Chad man, like somebody I know. So the developer wrote her as a meek little tiny girl who can get tossed around. You see where this is going, but still, that makes the systems make sense and motivates the player to engage in those combat-adjacent systems. For another example, my new game, Grimdelve, wishlist on Steam and play the demo now, has this system of choosing your character's personality traits. So that's the system I want players to engage with. You can totally choose to not pick any traits,
but I don't want that.
So to motivate players to actually pick traits, I have a variety of different story and gameplay outcomes that come of engaging with that system. So the writing encourages players to engage with that trait system. This isn't always exactly black and white, but generally in both of these games, the writing motivates players to engage with the systems. So how does Misha's incident do it? Well, in this game, really the only two systems are making money and inhaling corn dogs. The game motivates players to engage with the first with the initial plot setup, but it motivates players to engage with the second by making Misha the most deplorable, unlikable piece of shit on the planet.
She has clearly defined traits that make it impossible for me to play as the hero of the corn game, which, as we all know, I try to do in these games.
The main issue here is that since Misha isn't a protagonist to root for, even though there's options to stay a pure maiden, the adult content to me doesn't really tell an impactful story. People just aren't gonna sit there and reflect on the horrors they've witnessed when they don't care about Misha, and that might sound really harsh, but you just don't know the Gooners like I do.
Whichever viewer recommended me this game, please identify yourself in the comments so you can be shamed accordingly. Just kidding, I know you meant well, but I've now just played my first Gooner Slop RPG Maker game and it was really depressing.
This is unfortunately the vast majority of adult RPG Maker games out there, but instead of just ignoring this game and moving on, I wanted to make a video to showcase exactly what I'm trying to fight back against here. I have nothing against the existence of adult games when they're using their content and themes to further a powerful message.
Am I a trailblazer for quality corn games?
Or am I the gatekeeper of genitals?
You decide.
Misha's incident is just an excuse to show forceful baguette consumption, which is a real waste. There's a lot you can do with corn. It's one of the most emotionally powerful aspects of human life, and I want more games that use it to tell meaningful stories. If there's any substance here, it's buried beneath the awful translation, and this is opening up Pandora's box for me to just become a channel that plays regular old adult games. I don't want that. You don't want that, right? But in search of any sort of profound meaning in the disturbing world of adult RPG Maker games, I suppose some must burn. Misha's incident is the first to burn. I guess we should refer to this video as Toasty's incident.